The Ministry of Agriculture is taking steps to intensify a sensitization program on the giant African snail, which has been spotted on the north of the island. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Samuel Carret, says a series of events have been planned for today to educate the public on ways to control and manage the spread of the giant African snail. Carret says the presence of the giant African snail on the island is a major concern.
Well, it has to a certain extent, because don't forget it started with just one or two snails, you know, and we've been investing quite a bit of money to try to control it. And although there is a thought in the literature that says some of these invasive species, they have their disadvantages, but there are some people who argue and they may have their advantages. So, but however, we think that it would be detrimental to allow it to spread, especially with the impact it can have on our forests, not just our agriculture, which is primary, but also our forests as well. If the invasion of our forests is a major concern.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Samuel Carret. Agriculture Minister Matthew Walter says insurance coverage for Dominican farmers is long overdue. Mr. Walter was at the time addressing a press conference this week on a 4-day regional agricultural insurance symposium held in Antigua earlier this month, where a decision to issue insurance coverage for farmers in the Caribbean was taken. The Agriculture Minister said the decision is better late than never.
I told him at the symposium that it is long overdue. It is long overdue, but better late than never. You see, this is exactly what I told them. Better late than never. And, insurance for the agricultural sector is urgent. And what I would say, it is indispensable. Okay, and this is why the ministers have come to the realization that we cannot drag our feet and that we have to take immediate action. And that's why we put a plan of action in place with a timetable, within a time frame, to be able to achieve the objectives, so that we see what we have discussed is being translated into action.
Minister of Agriculture Matthew Walter. Head of the University of the West Indies Open Campus in Dominica, Dr. Francis Severin, is calling on graduates of the Northeast Comprehensive School to cross-examine the Dominican society. Severin was delivering the feature address at the Northeast Comprehensive School's graduation ceremony held earlier today.
If you cannot or won't interrogate or cross-examine the society in which you live, then your education has been, to some extent, a waste of time. If you can't read critically, think for yourselves, and then draw your own conclusions, then you are a burden on your society, and we can expect more. We can expect more of what we see in many older citizens who really have failed my generation and yours. Indeed, by socialization, my generation, indeed, by socialization, we have been taught from the previous generation, my generation, save a few of us, is already failing your generation. Your duty is to bring to an end the negative tide immediately. We must now place our hopes in you. We are rapidly running out of time. We must depend on you to embrace the correct attitudes in order to truly make our country, in order to truly take our country to a higher plane.
Severin says young people are being castigated by the very adults who they learned from.
There are many challenges which you face on a daily basis. You are witnessing unconcealed, raw, and barefaced double standards by the very adults who condemn you by saying young people this and young people that. Young people these days are such and such. You hear that every day. The severe truth is everything you have learned, whether good or bad, you have learned from adults. Whether And parents, sorry, today we are speaking the truth. Whether your parents, your teachers, your uncles, your aunts, your older siblings, your pastors, your priests, your politicians, and so on, you learn it from adults, whether good or bad. What you learn from your friends, follow this, what you learn from your friends, they too have learned from adults in the first place. For example, while we constantly speak of male marginalization, especially the underparticipation and underachievement of boys in school, Caribbean society in general, and Dominican society in particular, are full of contradictions which predispose our boys to relentlessly hanker after non-academic pursuits. In such an environment, it is difficult for our boys to develop the attitudes that will make them succeed in legitimate pursuits. Too many contradictions from adults. Thus, I invite you to perceive and ponder the following contradictions. And listen to these very carefully. Don't get tired. Very important. I invite you to perceive and ponder the following contradictions that have damaging effects on both sexes, but arguably particularly damaging to our boys' attitudes towards life in general.
Head of the University of the West Indies Open Campus in Dominica, Dr. Francis Severin. In other news, more calls are being made to support the Dominica Labour Party's candidate for the by-elections in the Marigot constituency on July 9th. This time, the call has come from Deputy Chair of the DLP arm in Marigot, Paul Carlton. Former Chairman of the Constituency Association branch of the DLP, Harold Tyson, told Kairi News this week that he and a number of supporters of the DLP in Marigot could boycott the July 9th by-election due to choice of candidate made for the party, Dayton Baptist. Mr. Carlton is encouraging the electorate, though, in Marigot to vote the DLP for progress and development in the community.
Earnestly, Mr. Baptist was not my choice of candidate, but because he is the chosen one, I have to rally with him. At a meeting held, the majority of people supported Mr. Baptist a couple weeks ago. And now, because some of the people cannot have their way, they are going around spreading false rumors, such as saying they are going to boycott the election and things of that nature. Now, the people that are going around and spreading such false rumors are people who are wanted people, people who are light, people who have mal to have eye. Mr. Dayton is the candidate for the Labour Party in Marigot constituency. What people have to realize in Marigot, Mr. James has played his part. And there are many people in Marigot, they're going to crook him. They're going to crook him because they are saying he should have sent somebody, he should have groomed somebody that the person would go in his stead. But having to be fighting now. Now, I would like the Marigot people to know that Labour is the best thing for them in Marigot now. For the community to get a benefit as other communities are getting benefits, they have to vote Labour. Don't worry with Mr. James. Marigot is not for Mr. James. It's past all of us passing. We have a part to play. Mr. James played his part, and one day he must realize that. He has realized that. But as he's dreaming in the day, dreaming in the night, perhaps he's dreaming red, and probably that's the reason why he assumed they were giving out red. Perhaps he was in a trance. So the by-election in Marigot is a must, and I'm doing everything in my strength and my manner for Mr. Dayton Baptist to come out victor. I do not know if he will, because Marigot people are sophisticated. You understand?
Deputy Chair of the DLP arm in Marigot, Paul Carlton.